Hi, my name is Patrick Allen. I'm the Director of Network Services for Dairy Farmers of America, and I wanted to talk to you about our journey from COVID to convergence. First of all, we want to cover a little bit about who Dairy Farmers of America is for any of you who are not aware, go over some of the challenges that COVID presented to us, and then some of our non-traditional convergence and lessons learned, and then lastly, what's next. I look forward to spending a few minutes with you guys today talking about the journey we've been on since the beginning of COVID, but really it's been a much longer journey that was compressed thanks to COVID, as I'm sure many of us have had that issue. Dairy Farmers of America, DFA is the largest supplier of raw milk in the world. We're headquartered here in Kansas City, Kansas, and we're a global dairy cooperative owned by dairy farmers, which is really exciting to be a member, an employee of this company. A little bit more about DFA. We have a very diversified product portfolio from fluid milk to ice cream to powdered to supply chain. We have 87 manufacturing facilities around the continental United States, 20.1 billion in US sales, and we are the third largest global dairy company. So for challenges, in March of last year, as everybody in the world, became aware that COVID was not going to be something that just went away. As a critical supply chain company, supplying milk to schools, milk products to various parts of the world, we had some really distinct challenges. We had to protect our plants, we had to protect our employees, and we had to be able to deliver our product around the world. So some of the three major things that we looked at was we wanted to make sure that we were increasing worker safety and productivity by enabling social distancing measures. This is not one of those jobs where you can do remote. When you're on the plant floor operating machines, when you're having a shift changeover, when you're having lunch, right? All these things are things that cannot be done from home. It'd be awesome if it could, but that's not a path that we're at yet. So we had to keep our employees in the plants. Additionally, we wanted to maintain overall workforce continuity by reducing exposure to COVID-19. While we may be having to be in our manufacturing facilities, manufacturing our product, we want to make sure we're doing it safe, effectively, and ensuring that we're not transmitting COVID or any other sickness or disease following our USDA guidelines. And lastly, maximizing equipment uptime with subject matter expert support. When something breaks, how do we fix it without flying somebody in? Because now there's some new challenges that are presented. So typical IT convergence talks about unified networks, data analytics, big data, cybersecurity, high availability, edge computing, and a few other ones that I'm sure you'll hear from others today. However, our convergence, and specifically what we were asked to address, wasn't what we typically cover when we talk about IT, OT convergence, and that's collaboration. How do we ensure our frontline worker and our knowledge workers are able to interact safely, effectively, but remotely? How do we ensure that our vendors who support our large manufacturing facilities are able to support and do maintenance and not planned maintenance, unplanned maintenance, outage work? How do we do that without presenting a risk of bringing COVID-19 into our plants? While DFA as a whole, we've got a lot of things that we're doing on the traditional IT/OT convergence side. I want to talk to you guys today about the collaboration side. So using OT collaboration. So how do we leverage remote experts when travel is restricted? At the beginning of COVID, before we found a solution, when we needed somebody to fly into a plant because something was broke or we had an outage where we had to do maintenance, we would have to fly in our employees, corporate engineering teams, our vendors. We'd fly them in 2 weeks in advance for them to sit in a hotel and work from a hotel remotely, but they could not enter a plant until that 2-week quarantine had taken place. And while they were doing other work, that's a massive cost for the hotel rooms and et cetera, but also it takes time. If we have a major outage, we have to wait 2 weeks before we can bring somebody in, which means we could have a downtime of up to 2 weeks, which is unacceptable. And then along with that, how do we keep the plant running in the event of an unplanned maintenance or outage? And the way we're going to do that is by connecting our remote experts to our frontline workers. So how did we do that? We partnered with Cisco, and we brought to them, these are the issues that we're having. These are the challenges. We got to run 24/7, 365. Almost all of our plants run 24/7. Travel for key personnels was restricted, and for those that were able to travel, again, hit that 2-week quarantine. And our usual efforts to prevent outages and maintain uptime is limited, right? We have less experienced personnel at certain facilities, and so we'd have centralized engineering experts who would travel to these other facilities to help support them when they would only have a plant technician versus a plant engineer. And how are we going to be able to continue to support these our other manufacturing operations who don't have engineering expertise in-house? So working with Cisco, we brought in the RealWear HMT1 headset. It's a partner solution with Cisco. We use Cisco Wireless throughout our entire facilities, and through WebEx Expert on Demand, we were able to enable our frontline workers to reach out and ask for help or schedule a time to meet with vendors or subject matter experts to be able to work through an issue, even bringing up new equipment, doing periodic maintenance, asking a question, all those things that we would previously require an on-site trip. Now all it require is a video call. These headsets have been had varying levels of success, which we'll talk about later. But our plant operations personnel were working together for continuous operations during times of crisis. And again, travel was a big deal. We traveled a lot before. And the results of this is very surprising, to me at least, was we maximized our uptime. We limited truck rolls, air travel, regional and national sites. Our production supply was maintained throughout all of COVID. And even still, and then we're continuing to leverage social distancing techniques. And one of the additional things that we did working with Cisco was, traditionally when you talk about video conferencing, you're talking about, okay, I'm going to talk from here to there. I'm going to talk from facility A to facility B. Well, we actually leveraged it in a little bit more of a unique way, where we'd say at our facility here, we have 5 conference rooms, and we can only fit 2 to 3 people per conference room, and we need to do a production supervisor shift change so we can talk through the different things that happen during that shift. Where before we'd all get into a room and chat and walk through it. Now we had the ability to get on a video call and have 2 people in each conference room, be able to still have that face-to-face interaction, be able to have the communication, be able to have the turnover between shifts, so we can have seamless operations and talk about issues, talk about whatever's going on, but within the same facility, which traditionally you wouldn't do. But we're trying to think outside the box and find new opportunities for us to leverage the technologies that are available to us while also keeping social distance. So we're keeping that for contact tracing, even that the 2 shifts would not be in the same room. That we'd have 2 people from one shift in one conference room, 2 people from another, right, and keep it divided like that. And it was actually extremely helpful to help protect our workers. So the case study, right, I talked about, we have to run 365 days a year, 24/7. We can't travel, or when we do travel, we have 2 weeks of downtime. So we wanted to provide real-time, anytime visibility. We have multiple. I'll give you an example. One of our engineering supervisor at our facility in Portales, New Mexico, has several instances where he's gotten called at 2 or 3 in the morning from a frontline worker who had an issue. A Torx drive or a PLC or an HMI was down. Plant was a machine was down, and normally he would have to wake up, get dressed, and go in the plant and troubleshoot the issue. But through the solution, the smart headset, the HMT headset, we were able to, or he was able to go in, log onto his computer in his pajamas, walk through the issue with the frontline worker. And this is right middle of the night. Most of our key knowledge workers not in the office, and was able to work and troubleshoot a problem to eliminate downtime, to get the plant back up and running without ever having to leave his house. And it's not something he's had to do once. It's just something he's there, that is becoming normal operations. When there is an issue, they're able to work through it remotely, and which is very exciting. And it increased employee productivity and visibility, right? Being able to go home, and that was a big thing. Is we were having times where workers would have to stay at the office for extended periods of time. And now we don't have to do that. And if we have somebody working in Kansas City, they're able to engage and access the facilities around the country. And through our subject matter experts being, dispersed around the country, it's been a huge benefit. Additionally, bringing in our subject matter expert vendors and being able to ask them questions as well, and getting them onboarded and trained on our solution has been really helpful. So we're going to move on and talk a little bit more about OT collaboration. Like I said, we're using Cisco WebEx, a RealWear HMT1, and the video conferencing hardware. Our new hardware, right, again, limited in-person meetings, and we're leveraging this at multiple facilities now, and continuing to grow the adoption of this mentality, not just the social distancing, but being able to have shift change meetings between multiple conference rooms in a single facility. Our engineering teams leverage this were leveraged remotely, as I discussed, and plant maintenance at multiple facilities with zero travel. The interesting piece, is the not exponential growth, but increased demand and desire to have this capability for other departments that aren't necessarily related to OT, but are part of our governance, compliance, research and development. Even IT wants a piece of this. When something breaks, we've been trying to leverage this to walk through and figure out what the problem is remotely. Our QA teams being able to, again, travel's still not something that we're doing. So being able to get back to a semblance of a new normal, I know everybody's heard that a bunch and it's exhausting to hear, but defining how we can continue to do our jobs and not have to wait until this passes, but understanding that it may not for a while longer, and being able to walk through and work through each piece of the business, and being able to take OT innovation and spread it back across to the other departments has been really exciting. Here's a view of the headsets. Remote engineer can talk and annotate, is able to take a picture and say, hey, touch this, and click in. Actionable insight, and being able to just walk through any frontline worker, even an unknowledgeable office worker can be walked through how to fix something. So here's some benefits and concerns. Real-time remote expert guidance, reduce travel expenses, COVID-19 requirements, spacing, third-party support. One big piece is we want to develop internal knowledge instead of always going to vendors, but continue to increase the ability to fix problems internally. And as we walk through frontline workers on an issue, the next time, the goal is, and the hope is, that now that they've done this one time remotely themselves, instead of having to have an engineer come do it, and they can go do it again themselves. And through that, gained effectiveness and efficiencies. Now, it's always great to hear all the wonderful things that happened and all the possibilities that are out there, but what about the real world? What really happened when we deployed this? Well, we discovered that we have Wi-Fi coverage issues, and our plans, it's not quiet. We have our retorts and our HSTSs and all the different pieces of our supply chain and manufacturing process aren't traditionally quiet machines. And I think we probably have a lot of other people in the audience who have the same problem. And also, resilience, right? We're a dairy manufacturing operation. So we use fluid milk. Raw milk comes in, and we, pasteurize it, we homogenize it, and then, turn it into powder, turn it into fluid milk, etc. But we're dealing with lots of heat, humidity, water, chemicals, right? What happens if we're cleaning up and somebody left the headset on the floor and it gets sprayed, right? Those kind of things. And then, as with all technology, can people handle this? Is this too much to put on our plant floor users, and are they able to use it effectively, or is it just something that we spend money on and it just sits there? And those are real questions that we had to work through, and we'd have very varied results. And then the user interface, is it easy to use? Is it something that can quickly be picked up, or is it something that just is going to frustrate our frontline workers? Is going to frustrate our engineering teams and end up costing not only capital and time and money, but frustration and lose the desire for additional innovations. And new technology is just challenging. So again, I talked about Wi-Fi. One of the big things we learned: Wi-Fi and sanitary piping are not friends. And one of the things my team has been working on is providing a quick IT response to Wi-Fi coverage issues to ensure effectiveness of headsets. We can have Wi-Fi over the entire plant, but yet in a certain area in the warehouse or on the plant floor, in the manufacturing areas, in our pasteurization process, right? We're going to be sticking our heads with our headset on in weird places that normally you wouldn't put a laptop or you wouldn't put a hand scanner. So all of a sudden we're having to rethink some of our wireless designs to make sure that we're able to truly cover all of the facility and not just 80 to 90%. So working with the plants, making sure that through that IT convergence, that the converged engagement between IT and OT, the different teams, the engineering teams and the traditional IT teams, that we're working together effectively, and the IT's responding. I know that's always something that the OT side is very important to them, is getting quick and effective IT response. And the other interesting piece, which is not that surprising, is the OT engineering's team ability to absorb new technologies. We have between our plants different OT teams who have different levels of engagement with modern technology. And some of our OT teams were absolutely ready for this, and some of them were not. And some of them required additional training and engagement and understanding that this is a new way of doing things and it provides benefits, and really having to, working through our engineering teams and the network team on the IT side, my team, to really champion this with some of the legacy OT teams. And then we have some of our newer automated plants have more, I would call, tech savvy OT engineers, and they are just consuming this at a rapid pace. They are thinking new use cases and exciting new opportunities that we can leverage beyond even just for video conferencing, but for even data analytics and additional pieces, which we'll talk about in a minute. So, and they're evangelizing technology to other facilities. So we're getting, it's not IT saying, hey, use this, hey, use this. This is now the manufacturing and OT community coming to IT saying, hey, we need more of this. Hey, we need more of this. And a lot of it is thanks to the people using the technology. Our tech savvy OT engineering teams are excited about it, engaged about it, and they want it everywhere. So some of it is so they can support the other facilities that they're responsible for more easily. And it just makes their life easier. And that's an exciting thing to see new technology come in that is not wasteful, but it leverages new opportunities and new capabilities for our teams. So what's next, right? We brought it in, we got it, we've met our crawl and walk goals, but what are our run goals? We'd love to, and we're working through some initial prototyping phases of leveraging the augmented reality view to provide additional context to our equipment operators, right? Safety warnings. We look at a machine through the AR system, and we're able to see that, this is a high temp, or this is an ammonia pipe, be able to call out those alerts. Being able to pull out OT vitals, that we're able to instead of just having physical HMI screens, you can actually be able to monitor multiple machines no matter where you are in the facility. So you can have a single operator running 2 or 3 or 4 machines instead of just a single operator running 1 or 2. And then an augmented reality view of data points, and additionally documentation, training, et cetera. So the capabilities are relatively limitless. It's all about development, and then again, engagement with the business and the operational technology teams to work through what they'd like to see come next. And then the next piece is we'd like to get a headset at every plant in the enterprise. And that's a very simple line with a lot of implications. It includes wireless refreshes, ensuring that we have firewalls that, between all the different OT and IT networks. And it really, but by providing that, we'll be able to, again, allow the other departments, our audit, QA, IT, research and development, to be able to virtually travel to any plant in the country and do audits, see what equipment's going on, talk about periodic maintenance and predictive maintenance, and walk through those different pieces. So it's really an exciting time. it's very, again, non-traditional OT convergence, but it's also very welcomed not only by IT as somebody who likes to bring in new technologies, but by the OT side who sees this as a strategic enabler for them going forward. So we're really excited I've been really excited to share my story with you today. I look forward to answering any questions you guys have in the Q&A, and thank you for your time today.